Okay, so let me see this. This is actually a, a vision diagram I can say here. Okay, so what do you mean by vision diagram? So it's just foreseeing what happens in a lattice, crystal lattice, when we bring multiple atoms together. Okay, so you can see here this there are two vertical lines here. This is one vertical line, another vertical line is here. So you can see this lower side is 1s orbital, 1s shell, 2s shell, 2p shell, 3s, 3p. Okay. So here on the rightmost side you can see a quantum energy levels which are indicated as S, M, L and N. Okay, so in this quantum energy shell we have talked about this. N indicates energy level. At the bottom you can see n is equal to 1 here. My pointer is showing there. N is equal to 1, n is equal to 2. This is n is equal to 1 means first energy level. N is equal to 2 is second energy level. These two are called as inner shell and middle shell, okay, respectively. Okay, so here the electrons are very close to the nucleus. Okay, so 1s is of course is very close to nucleus, and next orbits are going to be 2s and 2p orbits, which are a little bit away from the nucleus. That's with reference to n, and we talked about L also. L and M represents it's an orbital orbital numbers. L and M is nothing but L will take the value of n minus 1. Suppose if n is equal to 1, L will take maximum n minus 1. So L will be 0. Suppose if n is equal to 2, L can take 0 and 1. N is equal to 3, L can take 0, 1 and 2. Likewise, depending on the value of n, L varies. L maximum value of L is n minus 1. For 3 it is just n minus 1 means it is just 2. That means it can take 0, 1 and as well as 2. Okay, so next we have m. M is also an orbital number. So m can take minus L to plus L. If you know L, just now we discussed how to calculate L. Depending on m L value, you can calculate what is m. So for instance, if L is equal to 2 here, m can take minus 2 to plus 2. Okay, you can see minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2 like that. And finally we have an S here. S is nothing but it is a spin. Electron will spin in a different momentum, different angular momentum. So S can be plus or minus half. Okay, so it can be plus half indicates it's one kind of a spin, and minus half indicates it is another type of spin. Okay, according to Bohr model, electron will be spinning, suppose in 1s orbital, here two electrons will be spinning in different orbit. Okay, different angular momentum here. Okay, so what are these SMLN in generally, if you ask me? These are nothing but it is like, if you want to if you ask me an analogy, it is like an finding my house address. Okay, SMLN. So you know that our address has got a specific class number and area number, something like that. Even here in atom, so if SMLN indicates where exactly the electrons are present. Okay, suppose if n is equal to 1, and since here in this case yes, m and L both are 0, and we have only 2 electrons, that means you can easily say that in inner shell, our first energy level, only 2 electrons are rotating in opposite spin. Likewise, all electrons can be located with this numbers S, M, L and N. Okay, so that's going to be helpful in locating the electrons here. So this is about this rightmost side of the table. And when you go to the left side of the table, as you move, let us see the graph here, what we have shown here. Just for reference purpose, this table has been shown here. Okay, so this is a thought diagram where we can easily understand when multiple atoms are, or many atoms are brought together, how exactly energy levels will split into bands, and it forms an energy band. On x-axis, if you see, it is a relative spacing between the atoms. That means when you are moving to the right side, spacing between atoms is far away. Okay, two atoms are far away. Okay, or multiple atoms are far from each other. When you are moving to the left side, and that means you are just thinking, just assuming that the multiple atoms are very close to each other. Okay, so distance between the atoms is very small when you move to the left side, and the y-axis indicates it is a relative energy of an electron. Okay, so how much energy the electron has got. Okay, so that's what this the y-axis tells you. Okay, so 1s and 2p, 1s has got 2 electrons, and 2s and 2p, 2s has got again 2 electrons in with reference to silicon. 2p has got again 6 electrons with reference to silicon again. So these are very tight, attached to the nucleus of silicon. But as you move above, you can see that so these are 3s and 3p orbitals. Okay, these orbitals are loosely bound to the nucleus. So that means entire property of silicon can be changed by just varying this 3s and 3p orbitals here. Okay, so here you can see that since 3s has got 3s orbit, 3s shell has got it has got 2n states. 2n indicates its vacant states. In that 2n electrons are occupied. Okay, so there are 2n state and 2n electrons. This is with reference to the n indicates, capital N indicates the total number of atoms in the lattice. N can be 100, 200, it's some number, you can assume that. Okay, okay, so in 3s shell there are 2n states exist. Suppose if 100 atoms, if I assume in a lattice, so 100 into 2, that means 200 states you can see in the 3s shell, and similarly 200 electrons can be found in the 3s shell. Okay, this is how the interpretation goes on. And look at the next shell is going to be the 3p shell. 3p shell has got 6n states. That means it has got enough states here, and look at the number of electrons here. So in the outermost shell, for all semiconductors, we said that only 4 electrons are present, since semiconductors are tetravalent. So 2n electrons you are finding in 3s shell, and another 2n electrons you are finding in 3p shell. This 3p shell is not completely filled with reference to semiconductor. It is partially filled. Since another 4n states are vacant here, only 2n electrons are filled in this 6n states. Okay, remaining are vacant here. Okay, that means any electron from impurity or doping kind of way, you can fill even other remaining 4n states here. So that means now we are analyzing here when atoms are apart from each other, when they are far from each other. Okay, can you give an example which semiconductors you find these kind of properties? In other way, I can ask you, which semiconductor has got atoms apart from each other? Any idea? Okay, we'll come back to that. Usually the semiconductors with band gap energy, if you look at band gap energy, the semiconductors, if you look at here in this case, it should be, atoms should be far from each other. So let us assume that this is a vertical line. When you move this many atoms very close to each other, that means in between these two lines, this is two vertical lines we are shown here. This is one vertical line, this is another vertical line what you are seeing here. So in between these two vertical lines, silicon falls somewhere here. You can see here, this is a silicon for n number of atoms. Okay, silicon, we know that the band gap energy is, it has got band gap energy of 1.1 electron volt. That is Eg value of silicon. Okay, so it has upper conduction band here. Okay, this line indicates it is a conduction band. Okay, all this green color shaded portion indicates it's a band formation here. Okay, whereas here you are seeing as a discrete energy levels when atoms are apart from each other. When atoms are brought close to each other, you see here the shaded portion here. This forms conduction band, and bottom shaded portion forms a valence band. Okay, and this space here, what you are seeing is forbidden gap or band gap energy. For silicon, it is going to be 1.1 electron volt, this distance between the valence band and the conduction band. Okay, so electrons has to cross here from valence band to the conduction band, for the silicon to conduct. Okay, but right now you can see here in the silicon, we have 4n states available. splitting of energy levels into bands has been taken place here, because when you group multiple atoms together, so you are seeing here 4n states and 4n electrons. So these 2n electrons and 2n electrons has been combined together and it forms 4n electrons. This is called hybridization, and you have 4n states left out in the valence band and the 4n electrons exist. That means valence band is completely filled here. Okay, there is no empty state here in the valence band. However, you can see here for silicon there is a conduction band which is empty. There are 4n states exist here, but there are 0 electrons present here. So this is an empty here. Okay. So now if you compare that with germanium, you can see germanium it may fall somewhere here. This green line here, maybe the for germanium, because compared to silicon has got band gap energy of 1.1 electron volt, and germanium has got very less band gap compared to silicon. That means if you are moving to the right side, that means atomic distance is very less. So this line may represent the may represent for somewhere here close to the silicon you may have germanium. Okay, so germanium has got small band gap energy. Okay, if you look at gallium arsenide has got very large band gap energy. It may fall somewhat here. Okay, so silicon is in the mid of gallium arsenide and germanium. Okay, so because it has got medium size gap. Okay, so that's the difference between different materials. So this itself is a very wide engineering, band gap engineering, what we call. By varying band gap you can change the properties of semiconductors. It's possible. Okay, that's what we have seen. This shows crystal lattice and the splitting of energy levels, discrete energy levels into the bands here. So as you move towards the away from y-axis, that means atomic spacing distance between the atoms in crystal lattice is very small. When you move towards y-axis, distance between the atoms or in a crystal lattice is going to be very small. In this case, it's very small. Okay, it's going to be very large in this case. Okay. Any questions about this before we proceed to the next topic of today's class? I hope you understand this topic. This is very simple thought processing kind of diagram, where you will understand the situation in which when many atoms are brought together, how exactly the conduction band and valence band formation takes place here. Okay.
Sir, at what
Yeah.
Sir, at what distance do you define this band gaps, interatomic distance? Because at different distances it is different.
Yes.
So at what spacing do you define EG, sir?
That's a good question what you asked. See, that itself is again a research. Suppose everyday people will come out with different band gaps and different the characteristics. If you look at it, recent Nobel Prize winner is because of the band gap. Okay, is from physics. You know what he invented? He just invented a blue LED. It's because of the some changes in different distance in the band gap gives different characteristics of a material. So with that he come out with an blue LED. Earlier you were seeing only one type of LED because of a fixed band gap. Now you are seeing different color LEDs because of different band gap energies, different band gap distance between the conduction and valence band. So that itself is again a property. We can't say that it's a fixed with reference to a material. It can be varied, of course. Okay.
Okay, sir. So it's not fixed. You can change it as per the band gap you want.
Yes. If you change, small change in that gives you very good properties. As I told you, blue LED is because of change in the band gap. Okay,
Yeah.
that gives you blue color. Likewise, if you want green color LED, you have different band gap you have to maintain. Usually in light emitting diodes, gallium arsenide is a material used. And if you observe that the crystal lattice of gallium arsenide, I mean band gap of gallium arsenide, that's much more larger compared to the silicon and germanium. Germanium has got very small band gap. Okay, whereas
Yes.
silicon and other compound semiconductors has got very large band gap. That gives different characteristics of a material. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now this diagram can be further continued. You can see now here this diagram is nothing but earlier we said a vision kind of diagram we have shown earlier. When multiple atoms are far away, how exactly we need to interpret energy levels. When they are brought close to each other, we should interpret that as a bands. Now to summarize here, you can see at the bottom all energy states in the valence band of different the atoms has been clubbed together, and that forms an valence band here. Each line here that represents different states of an atom. There are many atoms here. Okay, so many atoms and there are many energy states are there here. Okay, so this valence band is completely filled with reference to silicon. And look at here, there is a band gap here which separates out the conduction band and the valence band. Though here there are empty states are here in the conduction band, all these empty states are unfilled. Okay, only if you provide some excitation, since in semiconductors this Eg is going to be very very small compared to the insulators. Insulators has got 5 electron volt. Example, if you look at diamond, this Eg is going to be very large. That means amount of energy required to move an electron from valence band to the conduction band is very high. Whereas in case of silicon, it is just 1.1 electron volt. That means a small excitation here, small amount of energy in the form of heat or optical energy, you can lift electron from the this valence band to the conduction band here. So this forbidden gap or band gap plays an important role, how much distance it is. Okay, so this is again previous continuation of previous topic what we have discussed. This tells you, this gives you a clear precise, okay, the indication of the in a crystal lattice of silicon how exactly bands are formed here. And look at bottom lines here, innermost which are close to nucleus, we have shown by one line. Okay, this is nothing but it is 1s and 2s 2p orbitals. Okay, so there we show electrons are tightly bound. We don't want to go more detail about this, because this doesn't make any sense with reference to different elements. Only the upper 3s and 3p orbitals, that is the one which we keep changing the properties of that keep changing the characteristic of a material. So therefore we focus mainly on 3s and 3p orbitals, whereas 1s 2s and other lower orbits we ignore it. Okay, so these are inner electrons, they are very much happy with the tightly bound to the nucleus, so we are not concerned about those inner electrons here. Now when it comes to electronics, now how do we show this plot? So this plot can be shown by just drawing here lines you can see here. So this bottom line of conduction band, okay, can be shown by drawing one horizontal line here, which is called as a EC. EC means it's a conduction band energy level. Of course this is going to be a minimum conduction band energy level. And look at the bottom here, this is actually this, all these are, there are many atoms are here, and there are many states are here, and these states are filled with electrons, and that's called as valence band, since we are focusing mainly on the outermost orbits. And this line here, the top line here, can be redrawn here, and we can show that as EV. EV indicates it's a valence band energy level, and of course this is the maximum energy level of in the valence band, EV. So EV is maximum and EC is going to be the minimum. And in examination you need not shade this blue color shade what you are seeing here, you need not show that. Okay, only thing is, for river reference we have shown that on top of this is a conduction band. Any electron present here in the conduction band is readily, it can start conducting, it can move anywhere in the material. Okay, so it's free. Okay, totally it is free. Whereas here in the bottom below EV what you are seeing is, so here we have an energy states which are completely filled with electron, and moving electron from EV to EC requires you need to supply amount of energy equal to EG. So to continue further, this complete diagram has been rewritten in the form of a two horizontal lines like this. Okay, this line, upper line, represents minimum energy level of the conduction band. The lower line here indicates maximum energy level of the valence band. The distance between them is nothing but the forbidden gap or energy gap here. So here in this showing energy band diagram of a semiconductor, we don't want to show the inner electrons here. Okay, just we show that by drawing these two horizontal lines. Students, I strongly insist you to understand this here itself, because the real application of this energy band diagram you will see in a PN junction and even in transistor also. But here it may be, you may think that these topics are not relevant. It may not create a lot of interest in you, but I strongly suggest you to go through more details, so that this really it's going to help you in understanding the PN junction and of course the bipolar junction transistor. There we simply draw the two lines, EC and EV, for the P and N type semiconductor, and we will see this how this band bending happens in case of PN junctions. Provided if you understand this energy band diagram for silicon and germanium very well here itself, so that it becomes easy for you to understand PN junction and transistors. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. If not, let me proceed to the next topic. Now you can see this now, the mechanism of electrical current here. How exactly current flows in a semiconductor? It's because of electron keep jumping between the different states. Okay, what do you mean by this jumping between different states? You can see here this line indicates horizontal lines here. What we have shown here, multiple horizontal lines. They are nothing but energy states. Probably here nothing is there. That means this energy state is vacant. Okay, and this energy, this electron which is here may jump here. This line indicates, the vertical line indicates an electron here. Electron may find some empty state here and it may jump here, and again adjacent it may find some empty state here and it may jump here. That means when electron keep hopping between the empty states, that means it is moving. That creates an electric current. Okay. On other side, if you see, there is a movement of empty position also. You are seeing here electron moving from this position, this empty state, this state to the empty state here. That means it is creating an hole here. Absence of electron or empty state can be treated as hole. So if electron is moving in the right direction, holes are moving in the left direction. Okay. So that's very important to understand the concept of electron and hole. So electrical current occurs when an electron or hole jumps from one empty state to another empty state. So in a crystal lattice, electron keep jumping between one empty state to the another empty state here. This can happen in the conduction band. So when electron is totally free, so electron can find an empty state and it can make an hop. So when it jumps here, it leaves out the empty position here. That creates an hole. Therefore, in order for the conduction to occur, the material must have energy band containing carriers and empty states. So it should have carriers and there should be an empty state. Let me give an analogy here. I will ask you a question here. Suppose if you have a water bottle which is completely filled. When you shake that, do you see any significant movement in the water particles?
No, sir.
So there is very less. That means what you understood from the water bottle analogy is, when the water bottle is completely filled, that means even if you shake, okay, you don't see any significant movement of the water molecules. Same thing happens in semiconductor also. Suppose if the conduction band, previously what I have shown here, this is a valence band and this is going to be a conduction band. So this is completely filled, let us say here. If you don't create any empty position here, suppose if you don't provide some energy to lift electron from valence band to the conduction band, that means if by providing energy you are creating some empty positions here, right? Okay, that means some electrons here may get some sufficient energy and it may leave the valence band, it may move to the conduction band. By doing that, electron create an empty position in the valence band here, empty state in the valence band. Okay, so that means when at least if you don't provide energy and if this valence band is completely filled and this conduction band is totally empty, especially at room temperature, the semiconductor behave like an insulator. Therefore, in semiconductors at room temperature, it behaves. It's very difficult to say because some small change in temperature, some electron may move to the higher level. But at low temperature, the valence band is full, but conduction band is empty. The semiconductor behave like an insulator. Even in insulator also you see same mechanism, right? Though insulator has got large Eg, forbidden gap, in semiconductor we have a small Eg, but at lower temperatures these empty states are not moving, which is equivalent to the completely filled water bottle. Now how do you create an space for the electron or for the electrical current to conduct? The only way is you just remove 50% of the water in a bottle. What happens when you remove 50% of filled bottle? Now if you keep shaking the bottle, definitely the water molecules will move faster compared to the one which is completely filled. So that means when you provide some external energy, so what happens here is the electron will leave its valence band position and it creates some empty state here, and that empty state will be occupied by the another electron present there, and this electron keep creating the positions here. So when electron keep creating positions, it moves into the conduction band, and here also it keeps hopping because there are plenty of empty states in the conduction band, and between the states it keep jumping as we have shown here. Between the states it keep jumping, it hopping. So by this electrons are moving, that creates an electrical current here. Okay, that means the summary is, conclusion here is, so the energy band there must be carriers and there must be an empty states. So you can see here in the conduction band there are carriers are there, okay, and there are even empty states are there. So this causes an electrical current, okay. So otherwise you don't get any current in the crystal lattice, okay. Now coming to the classification of materials, the materials can be classified into insulators, semiconductors and metals. As you can see here, an insulator, first diagram shows you a energy band diagram of an insulator. Now we don't want to draw the diagram which is of this nature, okay, for to show, to classify the materials. Now you see here we have just shown by drawing two lines here. This is an conduction band, lower energy level of conduction band. This is upper energy level of valence band. You can see in insulator the complete valence band is full. It has got lot of electrons here, but Eg is going to be very large. Example, if you can take diamond, Eg is 5 electron volt, okay. So here there is a one filled band which is nothing but the valence band, and there is one empty band which is a conduction band, and there is a large forbidden gap between those two bands here. So these kind of materials are called as insulators. So electron you need to supply a lot of energy to move an electron from valence band to the conduction band. On other hand, if you see the second classification of materials, semiconductors, if you observe this first and second diagram, they are almost same except Eg is small, okay. So Eg is small, you can see here. So therefore Eg is small here, even though there is a filled valence band similar to the insulator, but since Eg is very small, a small energy in the form of heat or light or photonic energy, if you supply to this, electron may leave position of from the valence band and occupy some states in the conduction band. So this energy band diagram is almost the same as insulator except a small forbidden gap, in the semiconductors, okay. Look at the last one, the metal. The energy band diagram of metal, there are two cases here, one with overlapping valence band and conduction band, and there is again small distance between the valence band and the conduction band. Now you can see here there is the overlapping bands, there is no band gap exist in the metals. So therefore the electrons are readily available for conduction. Any electrical force here can move the electron in any direction, okay. It depends on potential energy what you apply. Now here, which one conduct electricity and why? Definitely the answer is metals conduct electricity. Reason is the electrons are available freely here, and any push in the form of potential energy causes the electrical current to flow, okay. And so now here, if you look at here, suppose if you supply some energy for the semiconductors in the form of thermal heat, thermal energy, or photonic energy, so do you think here current flow takes place? Okay, the answer is of course yes here, because see, when you make when you supply some external energy in the form of a light or heat, electron will be moving into the conduction band here, and definitely the some electrical force can move the electron in this empty position. There are so many empty states here, and it can cause electrical current here, okay. The same mechanism may happen here, but in this case it's very difficult to move an electron from this. Even the small excitation may happen here, but that's negligible here. It doesn't cause any current, significant amount of current, especially insulators, okay. So that's how we can classify the materials. Materials can be classified as insulators. The first band diagram shows an insulator, second one is semiconductor, third one is going to be a conductor, okay. Any questions so far here? So these are the band gaps of typical semiconductors as you look at here. So we have shown here band gap of column 4 element, which is carbon, which is 5.47, silicon, which is 1.12, germanium 0.66, and again selenium, which is 0.082. Okay, so there are so many other these are all elemental semiconductors. Compound semiconductors, you can see column 3 and column 4 elements: gallium phosphide, gallium arsenic, gallium antimony, indium phosphide, indium arsenic. Okay, so the so many indium, antimony, you can see so many compound semiconductor with different band gap energies are shown here. Okay, so the band gap of materials is calculated using the Schrödinger equation, and it is confirmed by using a variety of experiments here. How do you confirm using experiments? Any idea about that? How do you measure the band gaps of any material? you can measure it via the resistance also. Okay, so you can conduct a lot of experiments on the materials, and if based on the resistance you can even determine the band gap of material. Okay, semiconductor band gaps are typically ranging from 0.1 to 4 electron volts. Okay, so example is here, you can see here. Okay, it's some gallium arsenide, as I told you, it is 1.42 electron volt. Gallium phosphide, which is 2.25 electron volt. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir, we have to attend one more class.
Yeah, I will just stop it at this point, and if you have any questions, just you can ask me before I wind up today's class.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions here today's class? We just discussed about the energy band formation. Then we have discussed about this, the energy band diagrams, how we show it, to understand this, to simplify the a thought experiment. And later on we discussed about classification of materials into insulators, semiconductors and metals. And finally we told about this, in the periodic table, the elements like column 4, column 3 and 4, the compound semiconductors, and column 2 and 6, it has got different band gap energies. So this itself is a very wide area, band gap engineering.
Excuse me.
Okay. And
Sir, can you send the attendance link?
hello, yeah, I'll stop at this point. You can just okay then.
Sir, attending.